Good evening. It is 8 p.m. Eastern in Toronto, Ontario. I'm in actually Aurora. It's July the 4th. So happy July 4th to all the our U.S. pals who are watching The Journey with Barts and Rosey, Brad Bartko and myself, Paul Rosen. They said it wouldn't last. And it's show number 5. Guest number 4. And man, do we have a guest today that is going to blow you away. I've known this guy a long time. He has been around a long time. And it's a good thing that he's been around a long time because he is a voice that disability needs, that athletics need. Chris Daw, we're going to bring him up soon. But let's bring up my co-host, better half of Barts and Rosey, The Journey, Brad Bartko. Barts.
How you doing, Paul? I don't know about the better half, but we're here, and hey man, we made it. This is the episode just keep getting better and better and better and better. And man, when you told me more about our guests, and I've only got to meet them just for a short while backstage before we got going again, I am super excited to hear this guy's story and his journey, and already hearing stories of him being in Korea and Germany and all these places, and where accessibility is not on the top of mind. So you and I are very vocal about that stuff, and it's really nice to have a guy like Chris in our corner and to be able to lean on and help hopefully make change in this world. It's the 21st century, man. I'm sick and tired of it, and our time is now.
Absolutely, and Chris has been around a while. I've only got 10 years on him. I was born in April of 1960. He was born in February of 70. So he knows what it's like to play sports in some of the craziest place in the world. He started in the 80s, in the light 80s, like 82, 83. He's been to a ton of winter and summer games. I remember we've done a lot of things together, but I remember the most enjoyable one for us, and we'll talk about that when he comes up, was 2006 in Torino, Italy. I was the goaltender for the Canadian para hockey team. We won the gold medal. Unfortunately, the only gold medal in the Paralympics. Canada has not won since, and he skipped the wheelchair curling team, and they won the gold medal in Torino. We'll tell some stories about that. This is a pretty coast-to-coast show. You know, I'm in Toronto, just outside of Toronto. Jordan, the great producer, the Fanshot kid, Jordan LaRoche, he's in Montreal right now. Lucky dog, went to Game 3 of the Montreal-Tampa, and he might even go to Game 4. I'm not sure. I'm going to bet that he's going to be there tomorrow night. You're in Edmonton, as we know. And let's bring our guest up, Chris Daw. He's in Victoria. He's not from there because I think he was born in London or around Toronto. We'll ask him. He's been everywhere in the world, but I know he's in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. Chris Daw, welcome to The Journey.
Gentlemen.
Dawsy, where were you born? Were you born in Toronto or in London?
Parts unknown. No, I was born in North York.
North York. But you've lived we can't even go through it. You've lived a lot of places.
Yeah, I've lived on 5 of 6 continents and been everywhere. That's why I say parts unknown. I'm settled here now. I have a daughter here in Victoria. That's a beautiful daughter, 12, and her mom and I aren't together, but her mom lives here, so I'm grounded here.
Yeah, that's good. And at the very end, we'll talk about Chris is getting married on August 19th.
Yep.
August 19th. I was invited, trying to work some things out to get to Victoria. I don't know if I'm going to be able to financially, but I will be watching it on Zoom 100%. Hey, Chris, let's get into, before we start to talk about the different questions that Brad and myself have, why don't you give us and our audience the Coles Notes version of Chris Daw, where you started, how many games you've been to, brother?
So I have a disability. And bejesus, they don't know what the hell it is. I was originally diagnosed in the early 80s with what they thought was arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. Say that one 10 times. And then Dr. Hahn and a doctor named Baxter Willis in London, when I lived there, took me aside and they said, no, man, you don't have that. We think maybe you had a fetal stroke, but we don't know. So really, they don't know. My disability allows me to be both a classifiable as a paraplegic and a quadriplegic. Started out in the early 80s. Got my start from a guy named Keith Cartwright, who saw me in a camp and was playing basketball, thought maybe I had some talent, went out and played basketball, found out I was pretty damn fast at the time, and went on to be a big track athlete from like 82 to 90, in and around there. I went to the first time that the Paralympics was ever held together with an Olympics in 88. Was a member of Team Canada for basketball. That was a member with you, Paul, for volleyball in Rio. Played, I played track. Big marathoner at the time. Was basketball, wheelchair rugby, sit volleyball, sledge hockey. I was a big goalie. I'm a big guy, so when they sit me in net, I pretty much occupy the whole freaking net. Billy will tell you that because he's pinged a couple off my melon a few times. And then I had a car accident, didn't want to give up my career. So I helped start wheelchair curling in the country and in the world. We were able to actually get that adopted into the Paralympics for 2006 without having to go through demo status. And there we were lucky to win. And you couldn't put a piece of paper between the rock of Scotland and myself. And we won the first ever gold medal given out for that sport. And that's a rarity.
Yeah.
So there's the cliff notes.
There you go. And I remember Torino because it was Torino was incredible. Barry Shelley looking good. Looking good, Chris. I was going to say looking good guys, but I don't know. Although, Bart, take your hat off for 1 second. Look at that hair, man. I had hair like that back in '87, but that's another story. Anyways, yeah, Torino was great. And hey, just go back a little bit in your mind to what it was like. Because I remember, it was a long time ago. I remember when Sir Philip Craven put the gold medal on, and it was the first win for the sled hockey team, and they haven't won since. And I know the wheelchair curling team has won. They won in Vancouver. What do you remember about having that gold medal put around your neck, Chris?
Well, for me, it was the end of a very long journey. Torino was my last Paralympic Games. Will probably be my last Paralympic Games ever. It took me 22 years, man. 22 years. And like 5 different sports, and finally to capture a gold medal in there. So for me, it was unreal. It was not just the pride of winning that medal for Canada and, of course, at Olympics, et cetera, but it was the end of a very long journey where I finally got to feel really vindicated over what I was doing. Everybody knows me. I've been around a long time, and I have people who like me, Paul, and I've got people who don't like me. I've been somewhat controversial over the years. One of the biggest controversies ever with me was when I was on the wheelchair rugby team in Australia. I had a lot of guys really, really pissed off at me because at that time I was like 340 in a 60-pound chair, and I could make it move. Like I could get it going like 20K up a basketball court. And do you really want to be hit by somebody full force that's 400 pounds? The first guy I hit in those games was a really lightweight 90-pound German, and I planted him into the third row of the audience, and that's where I got one of my nicknames, the Beast. And my new truck actually is named the Beast now. So
Well, I love the fact that both of us have been around a while, and we both have this situation where we will allow people to hate on us if, for the betterment of the program, we are going to look past not being friends with everybody. And we both have pissed a lot of people off over the years, but we both have this idea, and we talked before we came on, this kumbaya. To me, the Paralympics are not kumbaya. Let's sit around in our wheelchairs or our artificial legs and go sing and be nice and yay and yay. No, to me, that's garbage. This is about world-class athletes who happen to be disabled, and we are doing everything that able-bodied Olympians are doing. We're going to get into some politics in a bit, but Barks, I'm going to let you ask a question. Sorry, go ahead.
I got to add one thing, Paul.
Go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to the Paralympics, I think it's actually a better series of athletes than the Olympics.
Absolutely.
Because you've got guys out there.
And girls.
That are, okay. You've got non-binary. Let's not get into that. Okay. People doing stuff that should not be done. I saw a guy, honestly, and pressed the hell out of me. No arms, no legs, swimming faster than I could swim. And I'm like, holy, what the hell is that one about, man? And then it goes on and on and on and on. It's if you sit back and you really look at the athleticism of these athletes, and you go, as they say in boxing, let's go pound to pound, man. These guys wipe the floor of it. You know who is probably the greatest comparison? You take Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player, arguably that ever lived. Patty Anderson, right? Yep. Nobody can touch the man.
Nope.
Nobody. And you watch his channel, and I had the privilege of playing with Pat in '86 at the Canada Games when he was still just a little puppy, right? Yep. And this guy just went all around, just nuts, this guy.
No, I agree with you 100%. And Barks, before, another great comparison, and I'm going to have him on the show in a couple weeks. One of my really dear friends. I roomed with him for a bit. Dwayne Gretzky of sled hockey. I always say it. I always get myself in trouble because people say, don't say it. Billy Bridges, getting ready for his 6th Paralympic Games, a world-class person and a world-class hockey player. Barks, question for you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, guys, if you're not getting hated on, you're not doing something right. We're the same way right now. I'm trying to bring equality to people with disabilities and bring it into the spotlight. That's a story for another day. But I'm getting some heat too and getting some hated on. But again, big support too and opening some eyes. So I'm right there with you, Chris. I want to talk to you, man, about your travels and obviously being in a wheelchair and how that was for you. You mentioned off air you were in Germany and Japan and all these other spots. Well, hey, Canada on the best of days isn't fully up to par when it comes to accessibility. So let's talk about maybe being in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s and what these other countries were like, and maybe what you're seeing now, now that you're grounded in Victoria, what kind of changes can be made here as well as we move forward.
Well, man, I can tell you my psychologist wouldn't want me to relive the 80s or 90s in regards to wheelchair accessibility. I mean, I've been on 5 or 6 continents. I haven't been to the Antarctica, and that's because the penguins kicked me out, man. But what went on is it's like third world country. And it's not just third world country whenever you leave like Canada or the States. You go from one side of this country to the other, and it can be third world country too. Like I've lived in Newfoundland and Ontario, and I've been to Whitehorse, and now I live in BC. And when I lived in Newfoundland, accessibility in that province was unheard of. Like it was really an education. I was doing stuff that people were freaking out at. Like for me to go up and down an escalator is nothing. Out there, I almost got arrested for it because they had never seen anything like that. You go to Jamaica. I'm in Jamaica and I'm doing a road race in the mid 80s, and there's a pothole like that deep that they expect you to go through. I was in a race in South Africa where you went from pavement to gravel to they wanted you to wheel on the beach. Well, I'm not a beach guy, man. I like beach is like one stop and oh, look at the water. That's cool, man. Everyone goes, where are you going for your honeymoon? Well, it's not Hawaii, man, or Cuba. Like, I don't do beaches. Yeah. It's insane. Yeah, you have to take a look. Accessibility in the world goes in a cycle, right? So if you don't mind me kind of going off on this tangent for a second, I'll answer your question, Brad, okay? So before Rick Hansen went around the world on his Band in Motion tour, accessibility was crap. It was nothing. Then when he came back, well, it was all about we got to make everything accessible. And then the circle went back down to the bottom. And then there were a couple of outspoken people that brought it back to the top. And now we're actually back onto the bottom. You go down and you see rampant abuse, and I'm talking about rampant abuse of individuals with accessible parking permits. Yeah. You got people that you ask them, hey, do you know what a curb cut's for? And they go, well, that's for my baby stroller and for my bike to be able to get more accessible. Do you know what an automatic door is in the grocery store? Yeah, because it's too hard to carry my groceries out in 2 bags. Too much. So with all of that, like people don't understand that the majority of the conveniences for able-bodied individuals were developed now for individuals with disabilities. So we're at the bottom of the cycle of awareness again. And we're seeing this constant evolution that comes around. One of the biggest things, and I'm not trying to jump ahead on you here, Paul, but is this new bill that's coming out by the government.
Yes, please. Let's talk about that now. Bill C-35. Go for it.
So Bill C-35, developed by Carla Quattro. I've known Carla for years and years and years. We went to a couple games together when she was an athlete. And most people actually don't realize Carla was a Paralympian. So this Bill C-35 is probably the greatest thing to come around for individuals with disability next to the Canadian Disability Act, which is going to be very similar to the Ontario Accessibility Act. Bill C-35, and I'm just going to read on my other screen here. This act, this enactment establishes the Canada Disability Benefit to reduce poverty and support the financial security of working age persons with disabilities. It sets out general provisions for the administration of the benefit and authorizes the governor in council to implement most of the benefit's design elements through regulations. And I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. But what it does is it finally, we're coming out of the dark ages, Brad. Finally, this concept of PWD is what it's referred to, persons with a disability, or in Ontario, it's referred to as ODSP, the Ontario Disability Support Program. This program is above that, which is essentially going to give persons with a disability a guaranteed living income. Now, what's that look like? Well, this is the downfall of the bill. They don't tell you, right? Well, we'll keep up with inflation. Great. We're going to enact it. Great. It's going to be taxable. Great. How much? I'm not going to tell you yet. But it's a province, right? Like it's a province. It's a promise by the federal government. Right. Which is, it's got to be a good step in the right direction.
Right. Hey, the great thing, and I've known Carla a long time too. She's an incredible. She was a swimmer, like you said, a visually impaired swimmer. I just hope that it comes to fruition. That there's not an election and another party comes in, and who knows? I don't want to get political, but hopefully it'll happen. Real quickly, going back to when you said, and Brad, that was a great question about the escalator. We were in Ashikawa, Japan, and I remember Todd Nicholson, and Todd, and Brad, I think Todd, but of course, Todd. Yeah. Todd got on the escalator and grabbed onto the handles and was in his wheelchair. And I swear to God, I thought there was probably about 1,000 older Japanese folks that were going to have a heart attack watching him go up and down that escalator. But what this is about, and this is what I love about the journey, the show that we've put together, is this is about ability through disability. All three of us are disabled. Both of you born disabled, myself after a certain amount of years, but all three of us know what it's like. And I want to ask Brad to harp in on this for a second. We normally only go 30 minutes, but we're going to go a little longer, Chris. There's way too much to get into, and hopefully we'll have you back for part 2. What's it like when Chris was talking about the wheelchair stickers, and in Ontario, it's insane. It absolutely drives me crazy. I had one time when a guy parked in a spot, he came out and I said, excuse me, I didn't have my leg on, I had crutches and there was no parts to park. And I said to him, excuse me, are you disabled? And he goes, no. I said, do you want to be? Like, move your car, man. It's just ridiculous. Is it like that in Edmonton, Brad?
Yeah. And Chris brought up a great point about the curbs as well, and maybe I'll get into that too. But a handicap or the disabled parking is terrible on here too. I mean, for me, I don't look or act disabled. People really won't know it until you bring my chair out. So when my wife, unloads the chair and brings it to the door for me to get out of the car, I mean, people give her a funny look all the time until I get out of the car. And as I always say, I've said this for years, whether I'm holding her hand in the mall or because it's not normal or whatever the case may be, I always tell people to take a picture. It lasts longer, and hell, I'll even sign it for you, and you can remember me by it. I'm that type of person. But he mentioned the curbs and people with their baby strollers and all the other. That's not even the worst part of it. You want to know the worst part of it? In Edmonton, it snows. What feels like 6 months of the year. So when it snows, guess what happens? The plows come along. They're clearing the streets. Everything's fantastic. But where does the snow go? They pile it up right in front of where I need to get down. And I can complain till I'm blue in the face, and nobody cares, because But not even what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it relatable to the average person. So okay, forget about us for a minute. What about the elderly person that's in a walker? What about your grandma? What about your mom that's 80, 90 years old? They need to get down the sidewalk, and they get stuck in the snow. What if they fall? What if they break a hip? What if something happens? Then what? We don't want to wait till something happens to finally make a change, to finally speak up, to finally have a voice. Our time is now. Chris mentioned it perfectly, and I 100% agree with you. We're at the bottom of that cycle. But Chris, it's our job, and I feel it's my responsibility. Paul feels the same way. You're the same way. I'm sick and tired of relying on the government. I'm at the point where, you know what? Screw the government. I'm going to take it in my own hands. I'm going to do my own thing. We got to keep it up top. We got to keep it there. We got to keep it top of mind. We got to keep talking about it. We got to keep making changes. And, that's the only way you're going to change if guys like us go out and make change. And heaven forbid, there's not change until something happens to one of us. And I don't want it to be us. You know, so all of a sudden I'm 6 feet under, and now we're making changes because I've spoken about this for 28 years. That's not how this should work. We should make changes now when we're still alive and making progress and moving in the right direction. Let's face it, it's the 21st century, man. And again, not to get political, not to get crazy, but if Black Lives Matter can make it happen, if the LGBTQ can make it happen, if the Indigenous can make it happen, all the power to them. But so can we.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you know we are the world's biggest street gang, right?
You know what, Chris? I have said this. Hey, how about a little bit of passion? Barry Shelley, one of our buddies, says, Brad, love the passion. Hey, Chris, how about a little bit of passion from my partner, Brad Barco? I love this kid. He just gets in it. And this is what it's all about. You are right, Chris. I have said this for a long time now. And I think coming from the able-bodied community and then becoming disabled, seeing what's happened, we belong to the biggest organization in the world, the disabled community. We'll let anybody in. You want in, you can come in. But remember, when you come in, there's a lot of nonsense that happens, and you usually can't get out. Hey, Kerry Goulet, the Gooch, he started all of this. We wouldn't be anywhere without him. He says, Chris, you look and sound amazing, and you do look good, man. You look healthy. I know you battled from illness. We're really worried about you, guys who care about you. And there's some guys who don't like the two of us, but I was worried about you for a bit there, man. You were battling big time. I want you to talk to, we got Robert Wine on the side. He's an incredible young man from the Ottawa area. He was a part of the Canada group. He was riding his bicycle and got hit by a gentleman who fell asleep behind the wheel. A number of people were killed in it. He was severely disabled. This guy has got passion, beyond passion, Chris. For everybody that's watching us, the journey, and is disabled and wants to understand how three guys can be so positive when they're missing a leg or in wheelchairs, how have you seen the changes from when you started back in a wheelchair in the 80s? Well, you did before because you're born in 1970, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. So thanks, Paul, for my help. Literally, you're talking to a dead guy, right? In December, I died for 4.5 minutes. I'm alive. I'm doing well. When I grew up, I was actually blessed with a mom and a dad that decided to break every rule, ever. One day, I was in the hospital. I spent a lot of time in the hospital when I was a kid. And my dad walked into the doctors and said, well, what's the prognosis? Well, we don't know. Well, is he going to live or isn't he going to live? Well, we don't know. Well, make up your mind. I'm going to take him home because he's costing me money. And the greatest thing that my father did, and my brothers and my sister, is they didn't give a rat's patootie about my disability. They really didn't. I have a progressive disability. I used to walk. Now I can't walk. I adopted a life in a wheelchair. And as I went through, there was no segregation in schools. You had a disability, you went to a public school. When I went to high school at Strathroy District Collegiate, 7 stories up and down. I used to bump down the stairs and give everybody a heart attack, man, when I went to high school. And then I would crawl or pull myself up. That's how I got the strength that I did. I used to pull my own butt up the staircases in the high school. Hang on to 2 rails, put a seatbelt on your lap, and up you go. I mean, I was blessed with, I literally was blessed with nobody knowing anything. And now we have this, and it's for the good. Please don't email me and, shoot me a million times, okay? It's for the good that we have some rules and regulations around how you got to treat disabled people. But when I grew up, there's none of that. Nobody gave a crap. If I wanted to go crawl, I remember, now we're going to tell stories, and I could fill some stories. But I was in college in Sarnia, and I went out one night with my buddies, and we had a few too many. And I came home, and my buddies were behind me, and I fell out of my wheelchair in the middle of the street. The chair went one way, I was going the other way, and you know what? I crawled home. I just crawled home. And, you know, it took me 3 days to find the wheelchair, and it was brought to the door by the police. But it's stuff like that you can't get away with anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it's the fun times, right? I could tell you, I have my own escalator story. I got to tell you one story. You're gonna laugh your pants off, both of you. Okay, you'll like this one. I was working for a police force in Sarnia, Ontario, and I was working one night, midnight shift, and I came home, and I parked my car in the driveway. I got out of the wheelchair. Oh, I hadn't got anything to eat. So I hopped back in the car, and I left the wheelchair there. So I'm driving along, and I'm a little tired, and I just clip the curb. I just clip it, just a little bit. Whoop, whoop. The lights go on. Hey, sir, how you doing tonight? Blah, 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 blah. You been drinking tonight? Well, me being who I am, I said, yeah, I've been drinking tonight. Oh, you have? What you have to drink? Well, I had a milk, and I had a Pepsi, and about 4 glasses of water, and the whole, he wasn't very happy with me. And he turns to me and goes, can you step out of the car? No. Can you step out of the car, sir? It's not going to happen, man. At that moment, the sergeant that I had been working with pulls up behind. And he's sitting on the back end of my car, and he goes, oh, this will be fun to watch. All right, continue on. Okay, sir, you don't get out of the car. I'm going to pull you out of the car. Well, you're going to try. So he opens the door, and he grabs me under my arms, and he's holding me up against the car. And I say to him, don't let go, man. It's not going to be good. Do not let go. He drops me. Well, just as he goes to drop me, the sergeant comes running up. And he goes, what's going on here? Oh, this guy's so drunk he can't stand.
Oh, no.
Oh, did you do a sobriety test on him yet? No. Oh, so you didn't ask him to walk the white line? No. Did you ask him to stand on one foot? No. Did you ask if he was disabled and couldn't get out of the car on his own? Oh, So I got a big letter from the Sarnia Police Department that I still have framed on my wall going, Dear Mr. Daw, we apologize wholeheartedly for the actions of our officer on the evening of blah, 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 blah. But it's that type of mentality. Nowadays, you did that, Instagram, Facebook, and going back to your point, Brad, I mean, it'd be wheelchair lives matter, man. It'd be everywhere, right? But again, why doesn't it happen? You know why? Because we're still third-class citizens.
But that's Chris, that is going to change. I will guarantee you. It's been very slow, and it's been a lot slower. You guys have seen it a lot longer, especially you, Chris. We are slowly making a difference, and we will. And before I die, unless I die in the next week or two, we are going to make a difference. Hey, Chris, we have to 100%. One of these Sundays, we're going to do a show an hour long instead of a half an hour. We're going to go a couple more minutes, and we'll just have, just stories. We'll have people on who will send us their stories that have happened to them about being disabled in communities where they were treated not right. But I'm going to let Brad ask his final question, and then we'll wrap up for tonight, and we'll get you on again. Brad?
Yeah, Chris, again, thanks again, man. These stories and experiences are incredible. I've experienced something similar to that with the police here in Edmonton. I'm about to embark on really a journey this next little bit and become public with all my stories. So that'll be public knowledge. After keeping all this in for 28 years, I can't do it anymore. Our voices need to be heard. But with you, Chris, you talked about the circle, and we're down here. In your opinion, in your humble opinion, how do you feel that we should get up here and stay up here and stay up here for good and become not that alien, not that third class citizen that we talked about, but it actually a contributing member to society, seen as a human being, seen as a Canadian citizen, American citizen, whatever. But how it's the 21st century, Chris. How do we get there, man?
Well, there's two aspects that I think we need to do here, Brett. Right now, we're talking about in society, we have an Indigenous movement and the travesties that went on with that. That's a legacy that Canada as a whole has to lay down. Okay, we see Black Lives Matter. Well, at some point in time, we have to integratedly acknowledge and have society acknowledge that disability isn't a stigma. It is an actual acceptable condition that society needs to stop excluding, prevent separatism. In schools, they now study Indigenous rights. They study African American rights. They do sex ed. Why don't they do a full course on disability acceptance or disability awareness? So that rather than this pick-on movement, we all got picked on when we were growing up. I mean, when I became big, nobody decided to pick on me anymore. But when we educate society that it is not a stigma, it's not stigmata that you have a disability. Every person's individualized. Every person is going to be different. You can't group us together. The answer, Cliff Notes version, Brad, we've got to educate. If we don't educate, that's not going to break down the stigma. Once we break that education barrier, the stigma will break down, and then it'll be inclusive, and we'll get away from all this crap.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that real quick, if I may, I run my own business here in Edmonton. I'm in finance, so I've seen a lot in 8 years as well. And I read a Canada stat just the other day that over 40% of Canadians will become disabled or a form of disability at some point in their life, whether that's a car accident, whether whatever that may be. So it's more prevalent than people think, and we need to start thinking about this more and really bringing it to the front of people's brains. I love the idea of bringing it into schools. That's why Paul, you and I, and Chris, and Jim Thompson talks about going to speak to schools and making aware and bringing it to the forefront and getting to City Hall and changing bills and just really creating and making a difference. And before I'm gone, and before Paul's gone, and Chris, hopefully you're a major part of that, and we can be the guys leading the charge and changing the world really for the better.
Hey man, I was already gone, so I came back. So I'm not over yet.
Well, I tell you one thing, Chris. I've known you a long time. Like we've said a few times here, there probably got a lot of guys out there that are watching that think Chris Daw, great guy, and there's some out there that think, Chris Daw, big mouth, don't like him. Paul Rosen, big mouth, don't like him. I think we're both okay with that, because the more people that think we got a big mouth know that we're trying to use that big mouth to help, not to hurt. Loved having you on. I know Brad loved having you on. We will get you back on again, and we'll talk soon. I'm going to try my best to be at the wedding on August the 19th. I guarantee if I'm not there, I'll be watching it on Zoom. You are a hell of a person, a great voice for not just the disabled community, but a voice for change, a voice for showing people that you can go through a million different aspects of your life. You can go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and keep reinventing yourself. And you've done that a million times, brother. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you guys. Next time we're on, we'll share some funny stories. We'll share some really pathetic and sad stories. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here and give a voice. And for those that don't know me, look me up. You'll understand who I am. I'm not who I was, Paul. You know that.
Yep.
And anybody that wants to come to the wedding, drop me an email. Why the hell not? Come on out. It's on the top of a mountain anyway. So if I don't like you, off you go. All right, boys. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Take care, buddy. Have a great night.
Thanks so much, Chris.
I'm telling you, Brad, I've known him a long time, and he definitely he won't just sit back. I'll tell you that much. He just won't sit back and let things happen. He'll make them happen. And hey, show number 5, guest number 4. I'm not sure. We'll talk this week. If you've got somebody for next week, if you don't, I have somebody great for next week. But we'll talk about it during the week. The shows are getting better and better. What a great attitude from Barry Shelley. Absolutely. Hey, come to say that. What a great attitude. Let's end the show like we always do, Barts. Let's with our hero of the week. My hero of the week is going to be somebody who has been a part of Gooch Live featuring Paul Rosen, the Gooch Lunch, Rosen Report. He's been here from day one, and that's Robert Wine. He is my hero of the week, and I'll tell you why. Because here's a guy that has never given up, could have easily given up, was in a tremendous accident. Most people would have said, no, can't do it. No way. And I know he likes giving myself some credit and Gooch some credit. And no, Robert, I know you're watching because you've watched every show from day one. The credit goes to you, my friend, not to me, not to Gooch, not to Joe Smith, not to anybody, but you. You are my hero of the week because you show me every single day that you continue. You don't stop. You keep moving. And I think you are an unbelievable person, and you are my hero of the week. Barts, your hero?
Yeah, hey, great words about Robert. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Robert, keep going, keep pushing, man. But I'm going to piggyback on that, if I may, this week. We did the nurses and the doctors a couple weeks ago. This week, I'm going to do everybody with a disability. And those that don't feel worthy, and those that don't feel they have a voice, they feel stuck, they feel trapped, they have no places to go. Well, let me tell you, there's guys like me and Paul and Robert and Chris and Mark and Zach and every guest before that are behind you and are with you, and we're here to fight with you, we're here to wheel with you, we're here to stand with you, we're here to limp with you, we're here to crawl with you, and we're here to get it to new heights. We're here to get people with disabilities on the map. We're here to give people with disabilities a voice. Not just me a voice, but the power of everybody a voice. And I'm super excited to be able to help and be able to give a platform week in and week out with Paul to share stories of ability through disability and challenges and tribulations and overcoming adversity. But let me tell you, I promise you, on my grave, when I go to it, I promise you that a difference will be made. I promise you that there's people with you. I promise you we're here with you. We always will be, and we'll fight together, and we'll fight to the very end. And at the end, when it's all said and done, on this journey, there will be disability awareness, and disability lives do matter, will matter, and always will.
Yeah, and it's a journey. Hey, Chris is watching. He just sent in, he's still on. Robert Wine says, Paul, thank you a lot. I'm humbled. Hey, you're an incredible person, and you're the hero. Unbelievable. You're the hero. Not Brad and myself. We're fortunate enough to be on the show because of great people like our producer, Jordan LaRoche, who comes out week in and week out, and like Terry Goulet, the Gooch, who started this. But Christos says, you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore, until you decide to be happy. Wow. Couldn't have said that better myself. Hey, Barks, show number 5. We keep going. We talked about this months ago, but it's another one in the books. Went a little longer today, but it was important. Daw had so many important things to talk about. Chris Daw is a Canadian hero, 100%. We keep having Canadian heroes on there. From our first show with Barry Munro, who is blowing anybody away after a life-changing accident to become a lawyer and an advocate, and everything he's done. Love doing it. On behalf of my partner, Brad Barco, on behalf of Kerry Goulet the Gooch, on behalf of our producer, the Fanshawe Kid, Jordan LaRoche in Montreal, I'm Paul Rosen. You've been a part of the journey. Have a great week. Take care of each other, and God bless.